So in this video, we're going to take a look at how to use the quadratic formula. So you may know this already, but the quadratic formula is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And there are lots of letters in there. There's a's, b's, and c's, and they refer to the numbers in front, or I should say the coefficients in a quadratic equation. So let's see how we can apply this then and see if we can work out some answers. Now, I'm going to assume for this video that you do not have a graphical calculator, but you do have a scientific calculator. So here's an equation. We have got x squared plus 6x minus 8. Now, remember our quadratic equation, our general one, looks like this. So we're going to match up that a, b, and c in that general quadratic to the numbers in front of us. So x squared, well, there's like a 1 there, really. Okay, it's like a 1x squared. So that means that a is 1, b is 6. B refers to the number in front of the x. So b is going to be 6, and c is negative 8. We need to remember that the sign is included, right? Okay, so when we see a minus 8 on the end, the c value is minus 8. Okay, so now we've identified what the a, b, and c are. It's time to use that quadratic formula. So x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of that divided by 2a. So all we've got to do is put the numbers in. So minus b would be minus 6 plus or minus the square root of, so 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times minus 8. Now, I'm going to put that in a bracket. It just helps me to make sure I'm thinking about those negative numbers correctly. All of that divided by 2a. So that's 2 times 1, which is just 2. Okay, now, before we start typing on our calculator, let's try and simplify this a little bit. So minus 6 plus or minus. Now, 6 squared is 36, and already I can see I've got a minus and a minus multiplying together, so it's going to end up being a plus. So 4 times 1 times 8 is 32. All of that divided by 2. So I could simplify perhaps one last time. Minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 68, all divided by 2. So at this point, we can now use our calculator. Now, we now need to think about that plus minus and what that really means. Now, as we've seen from solving a quadratic in other ways, there's often two different solutions. And this is what this plus and minus is all about. Because one solution is minus 6 plus the root of 68 over 2. And another solution is minus 6 minus the root of 68 all over 2. And that's what the plus and minus means. We've got to work out both of those. They're both valid. So you're going to put them into a calculator. The mistake that most people make is that they don't divide the entire fraction by 2, just the first part. So if it helps you to remember, put some brackets on that when you're putting it into a calculator so you don't make a mistake. So if I work out that left-hand one, we are going to end up with 1.12 rounded to 2 decimal places, and the other solution when we do the subtraction is going to be minus 7.12 to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that's an example of a quadratic equation where there are 2 solutions. That doesn't always have to be the case. Let's jump into another example. So in this one, we have a is equal to 4, b is equal to minus 12, and c is equal to 9. Let's write out that quadratic formula again. Minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, we're going to put those numbers in then. So minus of minus 12 is positive 12. So it's 12 plus or minus. B squared, well, minus 12 times itself, 2 negatives make a positive. So that will be positive 144 minus 4 times 4 times 9. All of that inside that square root sign. Okay, so all of that divided by 2a. And so 2a is going to be 8. Right, we can perhaps simplify this a little bit before we put it all into the calculator. So we're going to have 12 plus or minus. Now, if I did 4 times 4 times 9, I'm going to get 144. So what I'm doing in essence here is doing 144 take away, well, the square root of 0 all over 8. Now, plussing and minus the square root of 0 is plussing and minus nothing at all. So in this case, there's only going to be one solution. And this happens on occasions when the number inside that square root is 0. Our only answer is just going to be 12 over 8. I can simplify that down, of course. That is going to be dividing both by 4 is going to be 3 over 2. There's our only solution. X is equal to 3 over 2. Okay, let's do one more. So this quadratic equation, we have A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1, C is equal to 5. Let's write it out again. Minus B plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Let's put the numbers in. We're going to have minus 1 plus minus square root of 1 minus 4 times 1 times 5 all over 2. Now, before we go any further, we've got a problem here. Let's take a look. If I was to work out that is going to be 1 minus 20, which is minus 19. Now, it is impossible, at least at the moment anyway, to square root a negative number. So this means there are no solutions. And look out for this. If you ever get a negative number inside a square root on a quadratic equations, we say there are no real solutions, okay? And it's not that x is 0, it just isn't a solution. Nothing will work. There's no number that you can put inside this quadratic to give a solution, at least before we start working on complex numbers in a few years' time. Okay, I hope that helps you to solve quadratic equations and to understand that there can be two solutions, one solution, or in some cases, no solution at all.